Hello my lovelies, it's Hogswatch Night and it's a perfect time of year to look back and think about what we have learned and what we have done over the last year with a nice glass of sherry and a pork pie or two. Today I'm sharing my most recent sewing project of a dressing gown, perfect for relaxing on Hogswatch evening, on chilly nights, sitting in front of a fire. I will also be reminiscing about my first year as a costuber, talking about what I've learned, some things that worked, and some things that didn't. So let's get into it. I've been wanting to do a Hogswatch inspired dressing gown for quite some time. My ratty-tatty old bathrobe has served me very well for nigh on to 15 years. It's a cozy, thick fleece that will find new life as linings or slippers or something, because as Captain Barbossa's want to say, waste not, want not. The wool I used for the fashion fabric is a lovely twill in an aubergine color. The fabric has a lovely drape with just enough hand to give it enough stiffness so that it really ups the swish factor when I walk and twirl. I lined it with an extra soft, very thick flannel, so this sucker is going to be very delightful to wear. My studio up here is very often cold, and this dressing gown will certainly keep me warm. The wool and the flannel was bought new, but the rest of it with the inner linings, the trimmings, and all of that came from my stash. For the pattern, I used a coat pattern. I used Vogue 8346. I was looking for a really long time for a plus size robe pattern, and I just wasn't finding it, and I didn't have time to draft this from scratch. So I just used this coat pattern and it worked beautifully. Basically, I took the pattern and just extended it to floor length. It didn't really increase the amount of yardage I needed. I added some volume at the sleeve head and I tapered the cuff. I forgot to take out the basting stitch. Just ignore that piece. As always, it took way longer to sew than I had originally planned for, but you know, that's the way things goes. And since my old bathrobe served me for about 15 years, I'm looking forward to this one serving me for another 15 years. When I was looking for a pattern, I wanted something that kind of harkened back to sort of a Victorian, but not too big volume sleeve, and I didn't want to have to wear stays because it was going to be a dressing robe. I had considered about putting some sort of structure into the bodice, but I really just couldn't be arsed to do that. You know, this is my bathrobe for going into the shower and into the bathroom and my first thing in the morning when I have my first coffee. I just wanted it to be really comfortable, and I think it kind of plays with that edge of history bounding, the little bit fuller sleeve cap, and this lovely shawl collar. I think if I was going to do this again, I would take the time and do some pad stitching. The collar's a little bit flipsy-flopsy for what I was wanting it to be, but you know, I think that this is going to work just beautifully for the next 10 to 15 years. So let's talk about this last year, and I'm going to start with what didn't work so well. I just really had a hard time with keeping up with a consistent publishing schedule. I only have a few hours in the evening to do all of my YouTube related activities. That's, you know, scripting and filming and editing and all of that. It can take a little bit longer to do videos than I would have liked. I was new to the whole YouTube with the videography, the editing, the filming, the scripting, and you know, all of the other things that go along with having a YouTube channel. And I really have learned a lot in this last year. I've taken quite a few classes on how to run YouTube channels, and I'm looking forward to continuing that education because I think it's really important that we keep learning, that we keep our brains active and young through constantly stuffing new information and new ways of thinking in there. Yeah, I think I've made some decent videos this last year, but I know that there's a lot of room for improvement. If you have any suggestions, feel free to comment down below. Let's have a conversation about how I can make this channel serve you better. I didn't get to many of the sewing projects that I had wanted to this year. Like I said, I have kind of limited time, and I think I just had more ambition than I had time available. So this next year I want to look a little bit more sagely and a little bit more circumspectly on what I can expect to accomplish in my designing and creating my own history-bound wardrobe. Most of those video projects are going to get repurposed into this next year, so I'll talk to you in a future video about my plans for 2022. So here's where you can help me out. How often do you want to see videos from me? What kind of videos are you not finding on YouTube that can help you on your own history-bounding journey? Another thing that I was struggling with this last year, and I think that a lot of you out there can relate to this, is I was struggling with some mental health issues and being diagnosed with ADHD. And that was kind of an eye-opener, and it explained so much about my inability to accomplish a lot of the things that I have wanted to over the last 60 years. Earlier this month I started medication for ADHD, and boy howdy, it has made a world of difference. I'm seeing about a 15 to 20% improvement in my ADHD symptoms. I know that this is going to be a long-term journey ahead of me. And baby, where has Adderall been all of my life? It hasn't been a miracle cure, and it hasn't gotten rid of all the brain weasels or the organizational killing orcs, but it sure has thrown them a little bit of meat to keep them a little bit more quiet. The difference is now all those squirrels are moving in the same direction, and there are a few herring off chasing after random acorns. I was able to complete this dressing gown in a few weeks as opposed to a few months or, never. So that's an improvement. Okay, I have a bit of honesty. I still need to finish the inside seams and to put the lining in the sleeve and apparently take off the last of my basting stitches, but it's almost there. Really been a hot minute since I had done any significant sewing, and my skills are a little bit, okay, no, let's talk realistically. My skills were a lot rusty, and it's just sort of taken a full year to kind of get back into the swing of things. Outside of the occasional set of clothing for my medieval reenactment group, and it's been like the life age of this world since I have made myself anything for modern wearing. There wasn't any one reason why I was not sewing. Reasons why we don't do something we love is often complicated and messy. So contributing factors are lack of time, lack of energy, being a single mom, raising kids, all of the things of life. And I just wasn't doing a lot of sewing. But working on this channel has really helped me to kind of reignite that spark and that love of sewing. And, sharing my journey with you guys has kind of kept me interested in, making sure that I'm getting my projects done so that I can get my videos out and on the channel for you guys. So I'm really, truly grateful for everyone out there that has given me the gift of your time by watching my videos, by commenting and sharing. It really does help, keep me motivated to keep making these videos when it's, midnight and I have to work in the morning. So keep that up. Let's talk about what worked. I started this channel, about this time last year, and I've really seen a lot of great growth and engagement by you viewers out there, and that has just been so wonderful to have conversations and talking about sewing and history bounding and all those things that we really love to do and talk about a lot. I saw a lot of great growth and improvement and engagement, like way more than I was expecting. I did not expect to have 700 subscribers by the end of my first year. I really had expected to be chugging along with 10 to 50 subscribers, and most of them are probably family and close friends. But I really do appreciate your support on that. Some other things that worked was I sewed some things this year. It's really just been such a long time since I've sewn anything. This was the first year in a long time that I've sewn anything for myself. I've completed my Forest Wanderer wool vest, and I will be doing another video on that sometime early in the new year, and then continuing to add to that outfit as I go along. I have enough of the aubergine wool from this dressing gown that I can make a nice long swishy skirt for that. I made myself a long linen tank top, and I made myself a really comfy t-shirt dress with some upcycled lace. So my goal is to create a history-bound capsule wardrobe that is mostly me made. this really gives me the opportunity to make things that are very unique to me. You know, like this dressing gown, you wouldn't be able to find it in the store, and if you did, it would be way beyond what I could afford. Another thing that I did this year that I really enjoyed doing was participating in the online costume symposium, or COSY. It was a lot of fun and met some really great people in the costume community. It can be really nerve-wracking to plunge into a new social group, you know, especially for someone who's as introverted as I am. And I'm probably the most introverted introvert who ever introverted. Pretty sure, yeah. And so that bunch of nerdy creative people have been really helpful in when I had questions about the YouTube channel or where to find resources or just chatting in general. What would you like to see me cover in COSY in 2022? I have some ideas, and I'm going to be kind of making my decision really soon because I don't want to have happen what happened last year where I was trying to complete my videos the week before. I'd really like to come into COSY a little bit more prepared so that I can take advantage of all the activities that were going on. There were some really fun nighttime activities, some Instagram collaborations going on. So there was a lot of really fun things that, because I had not prepared as well as I should have, I didn't get to participate in. So if you don't know what COSY is, it is an online costuming symposium. And there are hundreds of videos with all different aspects of costuming, all sorts of costuming, history bounding, historical dress, everything from lives to panels to, you know, pre-made videos. There are evening activities like pajama parties and cocktail parties. So it's a lot of fun and a whole lot of learning. And this last year was my first time participating, so you can search for it on YouTube and spend about 1 billion hours just going through all the different videos that are available. Another thing I did this year was bought a treadle sewing machine. It's mostly good. There's some work that I need to do to it to get it up and running. I have named it Rosalind Russell after my favorite, one of my favorite movies, Auntie Mame, with, boy, there are some life goals. The sewing machine that I bought is a Damascus, and it was sold by Montgomery Wards in the 1920s. It has a beautiful cabinet, so I'm looking forward to refurbishing and making sure that I can do some sewing on it this next year. I also need to gird my loins and finally get my geeky industrial machine set up. I don't know what my block is there, so if you all have interesting blocks on things that you know would be really, really simple, you just gotta do it, comment down below and maybe we can encourage each other so that we can get over that hump and do the thing. So I'll be doing another video in the next couple of weeks talking about my plans for the next year. So I hope you stop by when I put that out. Make sure to hit the bell and subscribe down below so that when I do release that next video, you can get a notification. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I hope this video sparked something creative in you, so go forth and be awesome. If you feel like supporting this channel so I can continue to create that content that you crave, there's a couple of different ways down in the description below. Feel free to check out my video from early 2021 where I talked about my plans for this last year, or check out my history bounding playlist. And until next time, I bid you joy.